If you told me to design a 20-inch fat tire, full suspension bike with integrated not only tail light and headlight, but also turn signals, I would probably end up making something that's gonna cost around $2,500, maybe $3,000 to get the rear shock right, to get the front shock right, to get really good hydraulic brakes with, you know, big rotors. But if somebody else said, could you do all that for less than $1,000? Well, it turns out you can. It's made by Jansno and it's called the X50. Now we have to figure out where did they cut costs and is this bike any good? This motor says 48 volt, 750, and they advertise it as a 750 watt motor. Now the cheapest bike I have put on the dyno was the Amazon Cycle-On. It did 760 watts. So that's kind of the benchmark we're trying to beat. We gotta turn the key, turn the screen on. Oh yeah, and you gotta turn the battery on, turn the key on, and then turn the screen on. That feels pretty decent. And maxed out. There is definitely a speed limit on this thing. We only got up to 15 miles an hour. I'm gonna try and change that because it felt like it had more in it if it could have kept going. I don't know what these settings do. They're not labeled. Nope, that wasn't it. That was probably my first and hopefully last annoyance with the bike. You can't change the speed through the screen. There's a wire under the seat. There's a black and white wire connected. You have to pull the seat off and unplug them. So now I'm gonna do a second dyno run that goes through the whole range of power. It's actually still making really good power, even up to 20 miles an hour. And that's it. The speedometer is a little bit off. I have it back to where it was set from the factory. It's reading a little faster than it should be. So I think before I go ride it, I will adjust that and get it dialed in just right. I forgot to push start. All right, 914 watts and 24 foot-pounds of torque. Let's see how that compares to the last run. So wattage actually was about the same, but the torque on the first run with the battery at 100% was just a little bit higher. So if you're looking at these results as far as performance versus price, this is better than the 3 Rad power bikes. It's better than the Amazon Cycle-On bike, and it's gonna fit in just under, very similar to the Hao-Chi Cheetah on power, but at like half the price. But how well does the suspension and the other components, the brakes, work on the road? Let's go find out. And I totally forgot to correct the speed. Basically, out of the box, it reads about 1 mile an hour too fast at around 25, and it's reading about 1.5 miles too fast, unloaded at the very, very top speed. Just filming a video.
Okay.
You want to be on YouTube?
Sure.
How much do you think this bike cost?
It's a big battery. It's got fancy suspension, and knowing e-bikes are rather expensive. $2,000?
It's on sale right now for $850.
Wow, that's pretty good for an e-bike. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we'll see if it's any good. It has turn signals.
Oh.
I mean, that's worth something.
This is a good around the town, living in the city, cruising bike.
Think the suspension will work?
Yeah, I do.
This is like, what's this foam for? Is that for the light, or is it to make it look beefier than it really is?
Could be that. How long's the battery life in this?
It's a 48 volt, 14 amp hours. So, I mean, that's a good, 20, 30 miles real easily. Okay. If you're pedaling, 40, but there's no adjustment in the seat height. So you just So you can't pedal really that well because your knees are always going to be scrunched up.
Like an old banana seat bike.
Exactly.
Well, let me know. I like it.
That was my brother-in-law, Richard. He's actually really into cycling of all sorts and has a specialized electric mountain bike. So I just thought it'd be funny, since I was seeing him on the road, what he thought this one might cost. Which he was right in the ballpark of what the price would be if I made one, but of course that'd be a different level of component. So the assist levels are tied to the throttle. So I'm full throttle over here, and we're doing 12 miles an hour, which is really probably like 11 and a half, since it's reading a little bit optimistic. If I bump up to 2, it's gonna go around 17 miles an hour. Let's bump it up to 3. That gets us up to 23, maybe? Let's say a realistic 22. I'll get up on the open road and crank it up to 4 and 5 and see where those are at too. I'm already going faster than the out of the box setting though, so that's good. Braking wise, it's using mechanical brakes and unfortunately 160 millimeter rotors, so the brakes aren't great. They work. The bike doesn't feel terribly heavy. I didn't actually weigh it, but it doesn't feel bad compared to some of the other bikes in this category. All right, pedal assist 4, we're accelerating. Yeah, so 27 miles an hour on assist 4. I still got 1 more to go. Crank it up to 5. Turn. Oh man, road work ahead. Based on that, I don't know if pedal assist 5 is gonna go any faster than 4 did. Guess I should have gone the other way. It's gonna creep on up to the front of the line. And wait right here. Better go fast enough to keep up with traffic. There we go. No problem. Downhill not bad, 31 miles an hour. So 30. Let's see what it does up this hill. I'm not gonna pedal, I'm just gonna let it do its thing. That's not bad. Oh yeah, I got turn signals. So that's the front left signal. You can see what it looks like there. It's kind of cool. And hopefully you can see that. That's the rear turn signal. The rear signals are gonna be pretty hard to see. They're not sticking out very far, but the fronts are pretty good. There is no audible noise on the signal and not like an obvious self-centering mechanism of any sort. So it could be really easy to leave your signal on, but that's a minor problem. I think just the fact that it has them is a bonus. Handling wise, I haven't quite gotten used to the bike yet. I don't know if it's because of the seating position is far back or if it's the handlebars, because they are swept back so you kind of get really upright. But the front seems like it's really light. Like it's just the slightest movement moves the bars. It's kind of weird. It's not a bad thing. It's just different than bikes that I'm used to, especially fat tire bikes. Usually the front end of the bike feels a little sluggish, and steering this, it makes the bike just feel like a feather weight. It's really strange. But I guess overall, in a good way, it makes the bike feel like it's not heavy at all. Now it might make it a little bit of a handful off-road, but the pump track up here at the park will be the perfect way to test that out. So far I feel like the saddle is reasonably comfortable. Seating position is good, upright, comfy. The brakes definitely could be improved. Those 160 rotors on mechanical brakes, you know, any e-bike has enough weight to it that they really have to be adjusted well and be good quality brakes for that to be sufficient. So it's a little lacking in the brake department, but even though I'm riding most of the time with one hand, it's been enough. But that's one of those areas where they cut cost. Hydraulic brakes cost more, larger rotors cost more. So by putting those simpler brakes on here, that's one way they could get the price down to 850 bucks. Realistically, you can buy some really nice hydraulic brakes for 150, 200 bucks. So at their current sale price, you know, you could still be around $1,000, even with good brakes. All right, time for the pump track. It might be the motor controller under the seat. I was thinking it was the fender, but that doesn't really make any noise when it rattles around. Yeah, it's the motor controller. So yes, it is a full suspension bike, but it's not the greatest in its off-road handling or setup. You'd probably want to put something around that motor controller so it doesn't get whacked around too much. The suspension feels okay. Oh, well, that was not good. Apparently, that wasn't super tight. That could have happened at a worse time. I was trying to compress the suspension down and I twisted the bars a little bit. And I don't know if I remember to bring any tools. So that's the suspension. It basically, it feels like a spring. It doesn't feel like it's doing much damping at all. Pretty decent travel distance, but just, there you go. It's like a pogo stick. And the rear shock, if I can even get it to do anything, really stiff. So rear shock, barely even gonna feel it. It's just gonna take out the hard bumps. The front fork, not progressive at all. Very much just like a spring, like a pogo stick kind of thing. So it doesn't feel great, but it's better than not having any suspension at all. Definitely way better than that, but that's definitely a spot where costs were cut down as well. So let's see how bright the headlight is. That's pretty good. That's not bad. Here's just a better shot of the turn signals now that I'm stopped. Those look pretty good. I do like that. Like I said, zero complaints about the turn signals. Is it gonna be the greatest? Are people really gonna be able to tell what you're indicating? That's questionable, but I'd rather it have something than nothing. It also does have a horn built into this light, which is a nice obnoxious sound, reasonably loud. Keep whacking the pedals on the ground. Oh, whacked it again. Now don't get me wrong, I did say it's not an off-road bike, but that doesn't mean we still can't have fun with it and try. Whoa, I almost crashed before I even got on the bike. I'm just now remembering that these handlebars are a little loose. Oh. really big dip. Wow, sliding down. I was gonna sit up there, but I guess not. Battery size is decent. It's using a Shimano rear derailleur, 7-speed. It's got a thumb shifter up on the handlebars. So very basic budget components as far as that goes. Pedaling wise, I assume everything works fine because it's name brand stuff. And if you're gonna get a bike like this, you're just really not gonna pedal it very much. Now I did notice, since I'm hearing that controller rattle around and it's reminding me that when I disconnected the plug for the speed limit, that the controller is using kind of older, generic, not waterproof connectors. So that's another spot where they save themselves a few bucks. Now the controller is pretty much hidden from the elements underneath the seat. So it's not a big deal, but it's just something to be aware of. I definitely wouldn't leave the bike parked out in the rain though. Goodbye, pump track. It's always a pleasure. See, now this kind of trail, like dirt path, fairly wide, this is perfect for this bike. This is something it can easily handle. It's soaking up the bumps from the occasional root sticking into the trail or rock jutting out. Now torque-wise, this bike did pretty well. I think it was 25 foot-pounds. Let's see what this can do up a really steep hill. I think my memory just isn't that great. I think the hill over here is about 14%. The appropriately named Hilltop Road. I've got the power cranked all the way up, and I'm gonna keep my speed up because I'm not 100% sure this bike will make it. Here we go. I'm pedaling. All right, what if I stop pedaling? 4 miles an hour. It's crawling. We're still going. So yes, technically it will make it up this, but it really struggled. So I kind of have to go back to the price of $850 on sale. Sometimes it's more than that, but that's the price that it's on sale for right now, and say, is it worth that? And I'm gonna say 100% yes. This is a steal at 850 bucks. I mean, I don't sell any bikes that cheap, and if you're on a really tight budget, I see this commonly all the time. People posting, hey, what's a good electric bike for under $1,000? And normally I would say there aren't any really good bikes for under $1,000. There are e-bikes under $1,000. Are they good? Not so much. But this one's not bad. Now 100%, there are better bikes. If you have a bigger budget or a little more room in your budget, there are other things you can get that are gonna perform better, they're gonna brake better, they're gonna be better off-road, the controller's gonna be better. But I'm flying down the highway at 30 miles an hour right now on a bike that cost 850 bucks. It's pretty hard to beat that. Yes, it is a slight downhill, but only slight. I think if you bought this as a first bike and you'd never ridden anything else, you really wouldn't know what you're missing. I mean, you can lock everything up and stop pretty fast still. You just gotta squeeze hard. You're gonna have to adjust them often. The tires are from CST. I know the brand itself is a little bit more affordable, but I've seen them on quite a few bikes now. I've ridden them on a lot of bikes, and I haven't had any issues with them overall. I think it goes without saying that this is gonna be a cadence sensor bike, but to me, the type of pedal assist on a bike with this seat style really doesn't matter, because this is not a bike you're gonna be pedaling a lot, you're gonna use the throttle. If you're on a budget and under $1,000 is what you need, then I don't think you can really go wrong with one of these. But thank you to Jansno for sending me the X50. I actually really did have a lot of fun on this one. If there was a meter for fun versus the amount of money you spent to have that fun, this would be really high on the list. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get one of these if you're interested. If you're looking for something else, I've got great news for you. Our new retail store is open. Now we're doing a grand opening event on November 18th. That is Saturday, the week before Thanksgiving, before Black Friday, and we're gonna have some killer deals in person at our store on not just e-bikes, but brakes, batteries, components, basically anything at all that's in the store. So definitely come check us out at our new location at 117 Neal Street in Grass Valley, California. I've got a huge list of other Black Friday bikes to announce, so stay tuned. There's gonna be a new bike shown on the YouTube channel like every other day. It's gonna be crazy.